Hi everybody, this is Olivia. We are going to finish our Doodle Dangles. The one on top I did on my last video, and now we are just going to go in and have lots of fun. I haven't drawn these in pencil first. These are just on the fly. Okay, now this first one is kind of a corner piece. You could use it for anything, but it is a loop, or it almost looks like the letter L if it were done in a swirly sort of feminine way. And now I'm just going in and adding little embellishments that I think look good. And this is a really great way to create your doodle dangles. It's kind of spontaneous. It's just something that you feel like you want to do. Nothing studied or practiced or penciled. There are 10 of these that are in this video, as well as the one on top that I did on the last video. And I'll talk a little bit about them. Who knows, there might even be a few moments of silence. Could happen. I don't know. But I was going to talk a little bit about each one and maybe some of the whys I've done what I've done, in hopes that maybe it will help to guide you a little bit in filling in blank spaces, how to embellish, things like that. Alrighty? Okay. Now on this first one, I've already talked about a little bit, just a few more things to add. Where that one loop is in the bottom left corner, I wanted to make that the emphasis. So I put little loops surrounding it, but I also wanted your eye to travel through the whole thing. So on either end, I put opposing swirls, and in between those, I put a loop and little lines with dots on the end that will help your eye travel all the way through it. And then on the right side of it, I just added some lines with dots, and on the far left, on the outside of the loop, I did the same thing. The reason is because it will help pick up on those far end pieces that are little lines with dots, as well as just for embellishments to make it look fuller, richer. But this way, your eye will travel through the whole thing because it sees the repeating patterns of dots, lines, and swirls. Okay, so that's it for that one. On to the next. Okay, now just a reminder that all of these are small, spontaneous, nothing is thought through in any grand detail. Most of it I'm just creating as I go. Okay? All right. This one I'm starting out with a little circle, and I'm taking it from there. So I am going up and creating a big feminine line with the swirl, and then another feminine line going down and around, and I'm going to fill the inside of that in the very bottom part with designs. So this is not a symmetrical piece. This is asymmetrical. Everything is on the right side of the page, well, so to speak. The design itself is all to the right, and it's filled with lines, loops, and dots. And one of the parts I wanted to mention that I really like and makes it very easy if you have some sort of a block, this is one of the easiest ways to start, is you start with a circle and just branch off from that. You know, you have put something on the page, which makes it a little easier to get going if you're having a hard time. All right? And on this one, I wanted to add in something that was recognizable. And so the first thing is I'm making a very simple little butterfly towards the top. And then below that, I'm making the profile of a flower. And that's all there is to this design. It is so simple, and it only takes a brief moment. And it would look good on just about anything you're creating. You could either make it part of your overall image, or this is one of those that could probably be the image itself, depending on how large and how much detail you wanted to do to it. All right, ready for the next. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you would like. I would love it. And hit the bell notification to be notified of future videos. Okay? All right, thanks. Now this one is just fun for fun's sake. Starting off with the swirl, going down and around and up over to the right, kind of at an angle, and then going down into a loop and just repeating that loop and loop and loop, and then back into a swirl, going the opposite direction as the first swirl. This one is just because it's really fun to do. All right. And then I'm going in and creating loops around the swirl on the farthest left, starting out with a long loop that's up against the line. And then as I go off towards the left, I'm making the loops a little bit smaller and that are leaning out towards the swirl. And then I finish it up with some, they kind of look like dots, but they're actually circles inside of each one of the loops. And that's all there is to it. It is lots of fun to do, and it looks really good. And again, with all of these, you can take this as far as you want. You can create an entire page of it, or have it as just part of your image, which I think might look really good too. And again, defies gravity. Love those. This almost reminds me of a dandelion that meets a fleur-de-lis. Now start by making a swirl. Wrap it around, make a long loop that almost looks like a teardrop, and then swing it back up and around to where you end with another swirl that's facing your first swirl. And next you want to make a horizontal line. So you start with a swirl, crossing over where your first stroke crosses, and you go back up and make another loop that's facing your first loop. Hope that made sense. Good thing there's a video so you can see how to do it. Very simple, very fast. Once you have that done, go to where everything crosses in the center. And at that point, you want to make little lines that extend out from the center all the way around. And at the ends of those little lines, put a dot. Now you want to go in and add a little dimension. And an easy way to add dimension is to imagine you're looking at a ribbon and you've twisted it a little bit. So parts of it are thicker, parts of it are thinner where it crosses, that kind of thing. And apply that to this design where it comes out of the swirl and goes into the longer line. That curve there is where I tend to make it a little bit wider, and that's what I've done in this image. By doing this, you give it more of a three-dimensional kind of look, makes it bolder. So I'm going back in and just loosely covering it with the black marker. So there's a little bit of white showing through, and that is deliberate. Now, wherever you made those little lines with the dots on the end, go to the tip of those dots and make 3 little loops. And that, to me, makes the little dandelion. And then go into the center, make some little lines that extend out, and then that's it. This one is done. And I'd have to say it's probably one of my favorites. Okay, now on to the next. This one is super easy. It is almost as if you are making a capital cursive L, but you start off with a swirl. And that's pretty much all there is to the body of this. Once you get that done, then off to the right, I've extended out the bottom part and I've put loops on either side and ended the very bottom in a loop. And then I've gone back into the main body and I've done what I did in the dangle doodle that I just completed. I've given it a little more dimension by adding some width in places. But on this one, I did not fill in that space black. I left it white. And that's all there is to this one. Okay, now I think this one is the fastest one of all of them. All this is one simple swirl with a loop shape that is flipped and mirrored. Okay, that's really it. So you go in, make a swirl, go down, loop it, go up past the swirl, make another loop, and go down and around into a swirl. And that's all there is to this one. It's really easy and it looks great as an embellishment. Okay, on to the next. Okay, on this one, start at the top and make a swirl that wraps around and goes towards the right and then down, and end it with a much smaller swirl that goes in the opposite direction. And then put loops underneath the top swirl that extend out, and then put one loop above the bottom swirl. And then you want to go back in, and where those loops are, make a line that kind of follows along the curve and add dots. That's all there is to this one. And yes, there are still more. Okay, on this one you make a swirl, a horizontal swirl, starting at the left, going up and then down, around, swinging back up, and then making your last swirl go down and around. And on this one, I am also making the more three-dimensional look by extending out parts of the line. I am filling them in partially with the black, and yet being loose with it is deliberate. I'm wanting it to just be really relaxed. Go in on the bottom side, start a line out past your swirl, and swing it down and around and make another swirl, and also make that one a little thicker. And then repeat the opposite on the top swirl. And when you're done with that, put a dot at the beginning of those last lines you drew, and then when you're done with that, add a dotted line between the swirls that are separate and the main line, and extend that out towards the other swirl, the swirl that's on the main line of the body. Once again, I am so glad there's a video that's attached to this, because no explanation is going to help as much as the video. And that's all there is to this one. I don't know why, but probably because this one is so loose. It reminds me of something that would be absolutely perfect for Halloween. Okay, on to the next. And this is the first time I've had a moment, but I wanted to let you know that if there's any time that you need to stop, spend some time on your designs, please feel free. And just click play when you're ready to start back up again. Also, if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you like, I would love it, and hit the bell notification to be notified of future videos. Okay, back we go. Now on this one, it is a flower. You start on the left, make a curved line to your right, make a little dot or circle, and on top of that, put 3 loop petals. Then go back to your starting point and make a smaller line under your original line and make a little bud, and then go part way up your line and make another little bud. At the very bottom, make a circle, and below that a dot. And that's all there is to that one. And I think this dangle doodle would make a really nice border or frame, just repeating that. Okay, on to the next. Well, it's taken us a little while to get here, but we are on our last dangle doodle. And this one is also a flower. Now, to create this one, make a slightly curved line, and at the top of that, put a diamond shape. And then add little dots halfway down your flower, and on top of the diamond shape, add some as well and curve those off to the right a little bit. And then at the very bottom, add a couple of leaves. And these leaves, I've made them a little bit different. I've made them look a little bit more like holly leaves. The tips are really angular, and I thought that was kind of a nice change. Go back up to your flower and make little loop petals that go all the way around it. And put a little dot right in the center, and guess what? You are done. Ta-da! Finished it. Did the whole thing, all 10 of them. I'd love to hear how you liked it in the comments, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you again soon. Much love, Olivia.